3, 2, 1. We have ignition. In your face, all over the place. We're online 24/7. 24/7. You're listening to the hottest internet station.
From beautiful Saline in southeastern Michigan.
Around the world at freedomtalkradio.net.
This is the 2009 Top 10 Webcam in the World winner. This is SETV.
Well, good evening, everybody. Bill Zam here. Welcome to another exciting episode of Surrounded by Idiots. And if you're wondering what happened to me last week, why we weren't on the air, it is because we are, in fact, surrounded by idiots. Because you see, every year the landscapers come around and they edge around the flower beds and everything. And 3 years ago, they took their nice little garden spades and they were edging around the gardens. And they didn't notice that they were bumping into something with the shovel and managed to cut through a high-speed internet cable and cut out everything, all of our communications. Last year, they were edging around the flower bed and neglected to notice that their spades were hitting up against something and managed to cut through the high-speed internet connection again. And last Saturday morning, they were edging around the flower beds and managed to cut through the high-speed cable once again. That's 3 years in a row. This time there was some stern talking tos, a few firings, some yelling, some screaming, some lecturing, and presumably we are safe until the same time next year when our high-speed cable will be cut again, hopefully not on a Saturday, so that we can actually do the show that time. Now tonight, we are on the air, and incidentally, when the kind repair person came from the service provider, he went through the entire system here in the facility and reduced a lot of the line noise and everything, and we now have almost twice the upload speed that we used to have. Actually, 3 times the amount of upload speed. We can upload at 5 megabits per second now, which is an amazing speed. So you might notice a little difference in the quality of the video that we're putting out right now. And it appears that it is going okay, and we are also trying to do something tonight that we've never done before, which can only mean one thing: a pure and utter disaster. But what I wanted to do to start out the show is I wanted to show you guys something that we do to get our shows on the air in the field. Because you see, I can broadcast anywhere that I can get any type of a cell phone signal. We have a place in Gaylord, Michigan, which is in the upper part of the lower peninsula here in Michigan. It is a very rural area. We are about 20 miles away from the nearest cell phone tower. You can get a cell phone signal on your cell phone, but you cannot make a call. That's it. You're lucky if you can even get a signal. Usually it's no service. But when I am up there, what I can do is I can actually do this show with video and audio and everything else right from there with no cell phone signal. We don't have a phone line. We don't have cable internet or anything else. So how do I do it? I'm going to show you how I do it, and then we're going to talk to somebody that actually has taken the bull by the horns and is actually going to do this for a business, and we're going to talk to him and how he's doing it. This right here, this little gizmo that you see right here, this is obviously an antenna. You can see the little antenna cable right here is made by Wilson Electronics. This is for semi-truck drivers. This is a cell phone antenna. You mount it on the mirror of a truck, or you can mount it on any vehicle, actually. And it will improve your cell phone signal. You just plug this into your cell phone, and you can get a signal. But that doesn't do the trick when we are at our place in Gaylord. This mounts on a 35 to 40 foot tall mast that we have attached to our place, and it's just about enough to get one bar, and that's about it. So what we do is we also have this right here. This little blue box that you see right here, this is also made by Wilson Electronics. This is actually part of the mast that we use up there. This is a cellular amplifier. It runs off of 12 volts, so it'll run off of our solar panels while we're up there. It'll run off the generator, or it will run off of a deep cycle battery. This is a full 5-watt amplifier, so that 1 bar magically becomes 5 bars. So we can get a full cell signal, either 3G or 4G, using this little box right here. This thing is an amazing piece of equipment. And this thing will amplify any cell phone signal to a full signal. So we can do a full show from up there just by having this thing running in combination with that antenna. And what this does is this thing sends that signal that it amplifies to this little box right here. This is a waveform antenna. It's a little flat antenna. You can mount your cell phone on here, but what we do is we have a cellular modem, and this modem is a 4G modem. Mounts onto the antenna just like that, and when it is hooked up to one of the computers, we get full internet connection at broadband speeds, no problem. We can either run a webcam off of that, or we can use our laptop as a mobile hotspot, and we can use the Android tablet to broadcast a show from. It's an amazing piece of technology, and $150, $200, and just about anybody can do it. All you really need is the antenna mast, the antenna, and the amplifier. And it works pretty good. You need a little bit of education to be able to do stuff like that. But other than that, it is pretty easy to do from the field. And our guest tonight is actually a returning guest, and I'm going to bring him up right now. Incidentally, if you're at the website, freedomtalkradio.net, we have the audio portion of the show going if you are on a slower connection or on a mobile device. And we also have the video side of the show going, which is what I've been doing, showing people the equipment. So if you're listening to the audio side, you're wondering what the heck I'm doing. Well, that's what I'm doing. And let me see if I can bring this up. And there is our guest.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. This is, ladies and gentlemen, a returning guest. We don't have a lot of returning guests. But this gentleman contacted me and said, Bill, can I come back on the show? I'd really love to come back on your show. And I said, well, if you like the abuse, come on down. This is Larry Overman. He is the owner of the world-famous Ghost Mine. You may have seen his show on a cable network. I don't know if I'm still allowed to say the name of the network. I'll let him pick it up from there. But he is using some technology that is pretty outstanding, if you ask me. And I'm going to let him explain about it, and we're going to have a nice chat during the show tonight. Larry, how are you doing?
You know, Bill, I'm doing wonderful, and thank you for having me back on here. It was we had a blast last time, so I was like, we do a lot of interviews, and there's a few of them that are just super, super fun, and we had a great time with you last time, so I thought, why not give you a shout-out and let you know what we're doing. Oh,
that's wonderful. Thank you. That warms my heart to hear a guest say something like that they had a good time and wanted to come back on the show, because that's what it's all about.
It is, and, with you doing your radio show the way that you do, I really thought you may be interested in kind of the threshold we plan on pushing this year, not only technologically but also entertainment-wise. And I'll just say it, we have launched and are planning on expanding upon the first ever fully interactive streaming reality show, 24/7.
So you're going to be doing essentially the show that you had on television, except 24/7.
Well, there's a unique side to that. Is not so much the same show. What we are doing is we are mining, but we have to rebuild some structures. And my original crew that I had up there in 2010, a couple of the guys called me and said, hey, the Ghost Mine was canceled, but so does that mean we get to come back to work? And I was like, guys, let's go back to work. And then I woke up, one morning, and one of the guys I was riding with, and we just kind of started talking back and forth, trying to figure out if certain things were doable. And we talked about, maybe streaming from the mine. And then we talked ourselves out of it. And about 2 months ago, I woke up and I told my wife, I said, we're doing it. There's enough technology out there. We're going to deliver it to the fans in full HD. And we start doing the research, and pretty soon we're writing checks, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. It's like going, oh my gosh, this is getting expensive. And the technology we plan on using, we'll actually be able to push up, a full gig of bandwidth per second.
That is a lot. Folks, let me tell you how much that is. Your average home connection, like what we have here, we use one of the big providers, Comcast. I'll go ahead and say it because they did a good job getting us back up and running last week. I'll go ahead and give them a free plug. Comcast. We have one of their medium tiers. We have 28 megabits per second download, and our upload has recently been upgraded. We were only at about 1 megabit per second upload. We are now pushing around 6 megabits per second upload ability, and that is what Larry's talking about, is the upload speed. Everybody has good download speed. They always give you a nice big pipeline to download things so you can watch your movies and everything else. But it's the upload speed when you're doing the sort of thing that Larry and I are doing, broadcasting, that is highly critical. You need as much bandwidth as possible, the biggest pipe that you can possibly get to push all that information out. And it is a 1 giga, what is it? What'd you say? 1 gigabyte per second?
1 gig upload speed. Yeah. To be able to achieve that full HD, and each HD camera is going to consume about 10 megs.
Yeah. And that's the camera that you're watching right now, the one with me on it. Hi, how you doing? This is only about 450, I think 450 kilobits per second. Even though it's a very good picture, I have everything optimized. It's about 450K per second because I don't want to push the bandwidth too much. Because as you can see, I have Larry. He's coming into the system here, and it also has a lot to do with the network that you have set up in your own facilities as well. You have to have the bandwidth in your own network too. So, I mean, this is an amazing thing that he's doing, and hundreds of thousands of dollars is about right. So, Larry, take it from there and tell us about what you're doing.
We had to go through and get FCC approval because we are to achieve that sort of bandwidth in a remote location like that. The only way to do it without it costing $1 million is with microwave. So we're actually got a line of sight. We had to lease space on other towers at the bottom of the mountain so we can get line of sight to them, and then purchase bandwidth from whoever owns that fiber optic. So it's even though you put in $300,000-$400,000 into making that connection, now you get to pay the monthly bill, and that monthly bill is going to be running probably about $8,000 a month to be, just because that's how much data bandwidth we are consuming. And the whole progression, the whole thought is, the fans wanted to know. We got tons of emails, hundreds of emails. What's going to happen with the Crescent Mine? What's going on? Why did they cancel it? Well, we just, rather than trying to dwell on why it was canceled, which, the bottom line, it boiled down to money. The show was new, didn't quite hit that profit margin that Comcast wanted when they purchased NBC Universal, which is Sci-Fi's parent company. So it's just one of those deals that happens, and it's not any member of the cast that caused that. And as far as the cast and crew that worked on the show, they were all great people, and we wish them the best of luck in all their future endeavors. But it's time for me to go back to work with my original guys.
That's an excellent explanation. Incidentally, folks, the way I'm doing this tonight, I've never done this before, actually having a video stream from the host on air. Larry and I talked about it. We decided to go ahead and try to do it. What you're seeing is the product of actually two different computer servers. One is pulling Larry in and broadcasting it on the internal network here over to the video server, in order to reduce the load on both of the computers so that I'm not running at 100% CPU capacity. Because when you're doing something like this, something this graphically intensive, you're going to hit up against 100% CPU, and you're going to have choppy audio and video and everything. So that's why he doesn't look like he's moving at 30 frames per second, because he's moving at about 10 frames per second across the local network here. So my apologies for that, but hopefully the image looks clear enough from here internally. It looks pretty darn good to me.
Yeah, and that's one of those big things when you start looking at quality. Sure, we could have purchased cameras that, give you a 480 image and, tone them down to, 10, 15 frames per second. But to sit there and watch that for hours on end, I figured that would be kind of frustrating. And then at 10 frames per second, you may miss an opportunity. So rather than having investigators at the mine, we are turning that over to everybody at home. We are giving the DVR controls to the end user. We'll be streaming 30 frames per second, full HD for those in the investigator package or the early bird package. They will have that opportunity. Not only that, but we're also interacting with them. If they see something, there's a chat stream right there. Let us know right away, and some member of the crew will go over and check it out to see if we can kind of help them. And there may be a moment where they actually call that person on the phone and say, okay, what did you see? Where did you think you saw it? And which camera? And kind of get it narrowed down. Then we can bring that screen up to a main feed and show everybody, including those on the other, in the lower plans, that we are trying to work with everybody because everybody has a different skill set.
So this is basically a real-time paranormal investigation, essentially, is what you're saying. Pretty
much, but the investigators are the fans, and if they don't, if they're not so much into that, that's not the premise of the show. The premise of the show is we have 6 guys up there working diligently, and we're going to have 30 some odd cameras around the perimeter. Somebody had asked if we're going to have perimeter cameras so maybe they could keep an eye out for Sasquatch. Right on. If you want to do that, that's the direction you want to watch and be able to, record and investigate Sasquatch. Oregon, the Northwest is known for different sightings, so it's not just ghosts or the paranormal or supernatural, as I prefer to call it. You still have those people that are into the Bigfoot thing. You have people that are into the UFO thing. We're at 8,600 feet, and the Milky Way is absolutely beautiful up there. So we're just kind of turning those things over to the fans, and if they see something, they have the ability to notify. Tours, investigative teams, they're all welcome.
I've got 2 questions for you. Question number 1 is, and people are going to want to know, what brand and type of camera you're using. And the second question is I've been at your site. It is, what is it? It's called TeslaWolfMedia.com.
Correct. That's the parent company.
I saw that you were doing some live broadcast from an airplane. So obviously you can do handheld remote broadcasting. Do you plan on doing a lot of that sort of thing where the cameras are held handheld?
Yes. So we will have a couple of camera guys that are broadcasting direct. It's all going live. No editors, no producers. We're giving it raw. I think I saw this morning a post from somebody, and I had we had to have somebody else respond to it because they know the facts. They were disappointed when they found out that the mine wasn't collapsed, and they were disappointed into the fact that that's what was portrayed. Well, the bottom line is I sent a full digital copy of our safety regulations to the producers and asked them, please do not edit this in any manner that's going to put me in a conflict with this safety rulebook, which is federally mandated. Mm-hmm. And what happens is I end up with an MSHA inspector up there telling me that he's up there to find me. Where can I be found? And I'm looking at this fine that could exceed $1 million for not reporting a cave-in a mine, because there was other things that were with that. So when I got up there, I had to explain to him and take him to the site and show him everything. And he was like, okay. He goes, I understand that, and I understand entertainment. So we're going to write this up as a non-jurisdictional offense. And I avoided that whole nightmare of having to go to court and get all these affidavits and get the producers involved. And thankfully, the guy was, smart enough and could understand that sometimes things aren't the way they should be. And it was completely against everything that they had asked me. I told them no. And I just said no, and they did it anyway. So, that part of it is what it is. For the most part, when you look at television, our crew, I have to give that crew kudos because they kept things in chronological order. They did deliver them as they were filmed. And, we had some of the greatest guys in the industry up there. Some of our film crew worked on The Dark Knight. We had some audio guys off Deadliest Catch. We had some guys that had a phenomenal skill set. And, when you got to fill up an hour, sometimes the editors get creative, and the producer is not always sitting there looking over the editor's shoulder. So the editor can make things look however they choose to that day.
Right. Yeah, I think they probably have run into that more than once on shows like Gold Rush or Deadliest Catch.
Well, Deadliest Catch, I know a couple of those guys, and they pretty much keep that legit. I would say 98% of that is completely legit. The Bering Sea is not like any place you would really want to be,
no.
Unless you are that hardy of an individual. What's going to make our thing that is completely different is there's no editors. We don't have producers in the aspect. We are actually using directors of photography just so that they can make sure and try and be at the right place at the right time, because there is none of this stuff that's going to be, oh man, that was great. Could you redo that again? None of that's allowed.
So it's all live. So what's
it's live? It's raw. There's not room for that.
What kind of cameras are you using?
So we're using a combination. We're using some Samsung cameras because of their resilience and durability underground and being weatherproof. So we are using some HD security style cameras for the streaming side of it, for inside the mine and for the perimeter. Outside, our handhelds are going to be some very, very nice Canons that are extremely, extremely expensive. And then, delivering Teradek has got some amazing equipment that you can stream into your control board and be able to send your signal out. So
that sounds like you've got quite a handle on the equipment. That's
one camera setup is going to just the camera, the lenses, the devices to be able to get that signal back. Each camera setup it exceeds $50,000.
Wow, that's a pretty penny, and I'm trying to get a hold of some GoPro cameras for some of the stuff
actually,
that I do.
I'm going to make a suggestion for you. We are going to be adding into this first-person view. So if somebody just has, somebody loves the way Swim is, which is a very good friend of mine and Miner, he is if he just has a massive following, he will actually have a first-person view camera physically mounted to him. And so they can log into his camera and follow whatever he sees. So that ability is going to be given to the viewers as well. And the cameras that we're using, we actually found one that I believe is better than the one you just mentioned. Mm-hmm. And it is called Replay XD. And if you look them up online, they actually have the ability for an external mic, external streaming capabilities, because that's what we require. But it maintains its weatherproofness, waterproof. You can still submerge it underwater if you need to. And it's already got its waterproof housing. You don't have to put it in a special case. It's just manufactured that way. The DEA is using them, and they're extremely durable, and they're half the price.
Huh, okay. Up on the screen, for those of you watching the video side of the show, you can see Larry up there in the corner on the video. And I have a photo of Wade Swim up on the screen right now, Mr. Tattoo.
Yeah, he's
cigar. He looks like he's It looks like he's driving over a cliff in this particular photograph.
Yeah.
And this is actually from Larry's website, from TeslaWolfMedia.com. And Wade Swim is one of the people in your crew. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. I've known Wade since 2007. Him and I worked in the oil industry together. Just a phenomenal, super fun guy. He is a degree. He's actually his degree. He's an art major. And what took him into oil was the bottom line for everybody. We go there because of money. And when we were talking the other day, because we're streaming live from the website at 7 p.m. Pacific time, and we're going to try and do it every night. Him and I were talking, and he is going to do a sculpture from some of the rock at the mountain, and we're going to auction it off for the Wounded Warriors Project.
Oh, bless your heart.
Yeah.
And I got a little bit of his bio up there. He's into skateboarding, surfing, wakeboarding, snowboarding, and likes to go really fast. Hopefully he doesn't go too fast inside the mine.
No, I don't think he will. He's very, very cautious under there, and he was trying to keep it clean. And what he was referring to is he likes to handle curves no matter where they're from, whether it's on the road or somewhere else.
I understand. One question that I have, because you're going to go completely unedited, what happens when a couple of people get into an argument, or there's some swearing or something like that? Do you have any type of time delay to bleep that out, or?
No time delay. It's raw. And
okay.
The problem with it is, and we've had great in-depth discussions. Number one, when you're streaming live through the website, it's not regulated by the FCC. You can stream whatever you choose to stream. However, we know that we're going to have younger kids watching, so everybody right now is kind of practicing, and rather than saying one word, they're saying something else with emphasis, and they're starting to program their mindset to think that. Rather than saying one thing and you smash a finger, you can say firecrackers or whatever. They're programming themselves now and getting used to that now, so that there is not a slip on camera. Because if they slip, it's too late. There is no delay.
I understand completely. In fact, here's an interesting story for the audience about that sort of thing. I'm going to say probably 20 to 25 years ago, I was helping put up mailboxes in our church. And the minister there, the pastor, Park Frederick, he was a nice guy. He liked to drink beer. He was a Lutheran minister. And we were putting up the mailboxes, and it was just a little ways outside of the main part of the church. And I was, pounding in nails and whatnot, and the hammer hit my thumb with a very rapid swing, and it hurt a lot. And I was looking at my thumb, trying to figure out what I was going to do or say, and I all of a sudden hear this voice in my ear, and it says, the closer you are to the altar, the less you can swear. It was Pastor Frederick, and he was standing there behind me, and I said, and I said, well, I couldn't say anything at that point. And he said, that hurts a hell of a lot, doesn't it? And I said, yeah, it does. So I understand exactly what you're saying. When you're doing a show, the funny thing is that all of a sudden when you're on the air, your swear engine just shuts off. And it only takes a little bit of training, but it's pretty easy to do. Yeah,
it is. And thankfully we have enough guys that care, they care about the kids, and that's why we're involved with, St. Jude and Camp You Can Do and a few other things that we have in the works. But, they want the kids to be involved. And that's why when I told them we were going to allow tours, if kids come up, we're going to take the time to teach them how to pan. We are going to have a facility set up to do that. And they'll be able to come up and interact and have a good time.
While we're on the subject, tell us about the crew. I've got the website up here with the photos and a little bio on everybody. There's you and your lovely wife, Stacy. right there. And underneath that is a fella by the name of Big Al, or Albie Mushaney.
Big Al, he is a very incredible person, heart of gold. He currently is a correctional officer at a youth facility. And so he's kind of like their intimidator, but, I'm not going to do anything. I don't even know how to put that for him. He has got this bigger than life personality. If you took Sean Connery, Chris Farley, and The Rock and put them all into one person, because a lot of people, The Rock, he has a heart of gold, and his presence when he's standing in a room is just breathtaking. He's a very unique. You can feel the love that he has for the people that he's helping out and different things. And Big Al is kind of that same way. You can feel that same level of compassion from Big Al. He loves kids. He loves this country. His dad is a veteran, and we have every single person there has that kind of one common denominator. They're all touched by veterans in some form or fashion, and as far as their hearts being touched. And yeah, he is just a big dude.
I'm looking at the photograph of him. His upper arms are about as big around as my chest is. He's a big fellow. It says there he's the head of security. He is our head of security. He is kind of. What does that entail? Why do you need security? So
obviously, when you have a mining operation, you have to have a checkpoint, and sometimes when you have somebody of less intimidating factor about them, the person coming up could get, and they have gotten, very belligerent occasionally. And he is there because that just his size alone defuses that instantly. He used to compete in the World's Strongest Man competitions. And he's just 6 foot tall, 370 pounds.
That's a big fella, a very intimidating figure.
Yeah. So he has an issue with claustrophobia, so we're going to exploit that. I will tell you that, because
he's going in the mine.
Everybody has to. So we're going to have a lot of fun when we actually do our training. So yeah, it'll be a good time.
Yeah, he's. You can just tell by the set of his face that he looks like a pretty darn nice guy underneath the large body there.
Yeah, he is.
And next up is Sarah Lemos. Did I pronounce her name right?
You did. Sarah Lemos. She is actually getting ready to be part of some amazing investigations into the past. She is a world-renowned psychic medium. She's on her way to where she's going to Seattle for an investigation. She's going to New York for an investigation. She does these paranormal cruises. Right after she does the haunt thing here, she's going to New York in September. Then she's also got her Ireland. They're going to go investigate one of the most haunted places in the world at this castle in Ireland, and she'll be there, I think, in a week or two.
Interesting. Showing her Facebook page there. If anybody is interested in following her and her activities, she has a Facebook page, Medium Sarah Lemos, Lemos. And you have some other people on your crew, don't you? You have Wade Swim. He's the you're billing as a greenhorn miner. I take it he's never done any mining before?
Yeah, when he was up there in 2010, he came up to visit me and hang out for a couple weeks, and him and I and Keith Park, which was working up there at the time, so we all put together and built the lab, and we needed to have some buildings built that would withstand the weather, so that's what we did, the buildings, and we built a lab that year, and so then he went back down to Houston and went back to work.
Excellent. And you have Chris Reeves. He's an electronics tech and a greenhorn miner. I take it he's probably going to be doing some of the work on the technical side of the broadcasts.
He is he's an engineer by degree, and I can't remember which whether it's electronics or electrical. There is a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So he's an engineer. He's been with his company now for 17 years, and involved in the very high tech and working on stuff now that the public won't see for 3 to 5 years. So he is very versed and very, very extremely technological. He will be part of the driving force that ensures that we deliver and have the ability to deliver the video stream without fail.
Wow, that's good. I hate to get off. Well, let's talk about the last. I think the other two guys that you have on there before I ask you my question. You have Devin Lester, and he's an equipment operator, so he's going to be operating the backhoes and the bulldozers and whatnot. Correct.
So Devin is a mutual friend of mine and Wade's. We worked together for the same company for a number of years, and his dad ran a big ranch down there in Texas, so he has lots of experience on dozers and excavators.
Well, that's good. What kind of heavy equipment do you run inside the mine? Or is there any heavy equipment in there? Or is that all hand cart work?
So last year they showed a mucker in there, and it's simply because the guys wanted to. It was just there. I don't prefer to use diesels underground. I want to get back into kind of the old way it was being done.
Mm-hmm.
So when we go into the Crescent Mine this year, we're actually going to start ripping out some of the old rotted rail that's in there and laying new rail in. I want to keep the kind of the nostalgic historical feel to it.
Okay. And the last person on the list here is Keith Park. And his description says he's a miner, so I expect he's got mining experience.
He does. He's been actually mining over in Eastern Oregon now for, 8 years. And he has pretty much read every single book about mining in Oregon. He knows the Sumter territory very intimately. When he's there, he doesn't take a lot with him. He's usually living off of, the huckleberries and whatever else he can find. He tries to do his best to extend and stretch whatever food he does bring with him, and camps out under the stars, doesn't pitch a tent unless the weather's bad. And just very, very versed and knows just darn near every single gulch and gully that's out in that area.
Well, that's good. That's the kind of expertise you really need in a situation like that. I would expect somebody that's good with survival and being able to think on his feet, helping people not die as opposed to dying.
Yeah, and we have some plans for that because, we do plan on fighting through the winter, which means a lot of snow removal, and we're going to run a split crew at that time. We'll we'll cut the crew in half and let half of them go home, and the other half will come, and then they'll rotate out. We haven't decided yet when the half goes home. We may or may not send cameras with them. That we haven't made that decision just yet because it does feel good to have a little bit of privacy, but we haven't made that decision yet.
Now, a couple of questions on the technological side. What type of plans do you have for emergency power up there? Because I would assume that your electricity is going to go out fairly frequently.
So we have no power. We're completely off the grid at the mine.
Excellent.
We are talking with a solar company right now to put in a massive solar bank that will power us most of the time.
Even better.
There are gray days, and we are putting in some wind turbines as well to keep those batteries charged, because we want this production to also be as green as we can possibly make it. Now, that being said, we also plan on installing into our living quarters backup propane generators, and also I've already got a 13 kW diesel generator that does exist up there.
Oh, excellent. We're going to get a little bit technical on the alternative energy here, folks, so you can get up and wander away for a minute if you want to. What type of batteries are you using for your battery bank, and how many? How big is the battery bank?
I'm not really sure yet. I'm waiting for the technological, the power consumption data from the microwave company. So when I know what that total consumption is going to look like in a day, then we'll make that determination. That's part of the reason why that bill is, we are anticipating it being so large.
And incidentally, folks, you know that I am into alternative energy. In fact, the studio lights that we have right now are alternative energy powered. Believe it or not, I mean, it's an LED studio light that I use to light the set here. It's amazing how good this thing works. There is for those of you that are interested in alternative energy, and one of my shows, This Old Shack, is about alternative energy. And I basically took my experience from knowing absolutely nothing about alternative energy to the point where I am right now, which is fairly well experienced. For those of you that are interested in it, there is a program called Homer, and it is put out by the NREL. That's the National Research Electronics Laboratory, maybe. I'm not sure exactly. Just look up nrel.org or gov. I forget which one it is. But they put out that program that's called Homer. And what you do is you put in all the different equipment that you have, your refrigerator, your televisions, your computers, whatnot, and it will help you build an alternative energy system based on what you have available as far as sunlight and wind and everything else. It is a great program, and it really helps you design that sort of thing. And you know, you have to design your battery bank and everything. For instance, our battery bank is fairly small because we don't have a lot of load that I put on it when we're up at in northern Michigan. We have let me see here. We have four 220 amp hour deep cycle batteries, and then another small bank of I think 96 amp hour batteries each that we use separately, and it's fairly small. But one of the things, and Larry can probably attest to this, is that these batteries hold a ton of power. They hold the chemical potential for power. One of these batteries that I have, each one will, when it's shorted, puts out about 1,000 amps, and I have 6 of these things. That is a lot of amperage. It's extremely dangerous to work around if you don't know what you're doing. You have to be very careful. So don't think you can just go out and get some solar panels, slap them up with some batteries, and you're good to go. You have to be careful. You have to understand what you're doing. So there's our disclaimer right there.
Absolutely. And speaking of alternative energies and kind of breaking, away from the traditional energy sources that we all consume, 18 years in the oil industry, and a lot of my friends out there are probably going to hate me for saying this, but at some point we do need to break away and quit importing oil from countries that flat hate us. Yeah. There are other alternative sources out there that are extremely safe. Thorium, for example. Cadillac built a car in 2012 called the Laser, and it ran 400,000 miles on 6 grams of thorium. And, there's a little bitty small mine in kind of south central Idaho, or more central, around Boise area, that has enough thorium to power the entire world for 400 years. Or actually, no, they're claiming 500 years. So I'll stand corrected. They're claiming 500 years. So with that, and in 1950, I believe, Boise State University built an aircraft powered on thorium. So we know that it's available. The difference between thorium and uranium that they use in nuclear energy now is thorium does not give them a strategic byproduct.
Aha. Interesting.
Yeah.
On your website, staying, I guess, on this topic, on your website, on the page about the Crescent Mine, the last sentence that you have on there is very interesting, but I don't see anything else about it. You have rubidium is used in various and diverse capacities. I imagine that your mine produces it?
Yes, it does.
Which is another question that I had. How much gold do you think is in there, and how much rubidium can you produce out of there?
So rubidium is rubidium in its pure form is dangerous. So I do want to throw that out there. It is a dangerous element. It flashes. I forget the flash, but it will flash in open air, and then it becomes very violent when it's wet. The version, the way we have it, it's actually coupled with lithium and becomes a compound, which makes it safe to handle in its natural form that way. So we actually have more rubidium than we have gold. The gold now becomes the byproduct, but the great thing is we can extract the rubidium lithium compound at the same time. So we can still, it only takes a few slight adjustments to a process to be able to pull all of them out.
Huh. Now, rubidium is in the alkali family. And I know there are something like, 30% of it is radioactive. Do you have a lot of that in there?
There's not been, and I haven't taken a Geiger counter in there, but based on our last lab results, there's not really a lot of radioactive elements there.
Mm-hmm.
We have titanium. We have tons of aluminum. It's ridiculous how much aluminum is there. I was totally surprised. And so as far as the danger to be exposed to radiation, there's not any need. There's no requirement for us to carry a badge. Now, we do anticipate, because they're more readily available now because of Fukushima, you can actually almost go buy a radiation, a Geiger counter almost at the hardware store.
Yeah, Walmart has them now.
And so we will have some radioactive or radiation testing done this year, just to make sure, because nobody wants to be exposed to something. We're trying to help find a cure for cancer, not create it. So
I understand. And for those of you that are interested, rubidium falls between krypton and strontium on the periodic table, incidentally. And by the way, I have up there on the screen on the video side, I have some information about rubidium from Wikipedia. And it appears to be a very useful element.
They've used it from treating manic depression, some forms of brain cancer. They've even used it. It was used in the what was it? How did they word that? Informational or data teleportation. It is another alternative for NASA for space transportation. They primarily use cesium, but they do have, if there's no cesium available, they do have the option of using rubidium. So,
interesting. Yeah, I understand they use that for their ion engines, which are low. Mm-hmm. The space mission they had where they went to, I think, a comet. They actually used an ion engine on that spacecraft to power it, mm-hmm. to catch up to that comet. So they do use it. It makes you wonder how plentiful rubidium is in the solar system, for, say, a crew of astronauts to go someplace and get rubidium for their ion engine for space travel.
That would be something very, very interesting to find out.
Just something that just floated into my mind. Don't ask me why.
We've been trying to figure out a way to, one of the talks that Chris and I had, I was like, okay, because he launches weather balloons. It's one of his hobbies. Uh-huh. And he gets photographs from, was it 30,000 feet up and higher. I think his highest flight was 120,000 feet. You could see the curvature of the earth, and you could see the blue hue of the atmosphere. Very beautiful images that he took. And I was like, okay, I said, if you can get a balloon that high, why can't we launch a platform that high and then stick on there another rocket and launch a small satellite so that we don't have to deal with all this other garbage?
So you're going to be having the Ghost Mine satellite? The Ghost Mine satellite?
It would be fun. I don't know if there's a way to do it yet because we can't quite get to that orbit stage, but we have discussed it. Now, we do know some guys that are into rockets and that are rocket scientists. And, it's like, okay, well, you cut your horsepower requirement tremendously if you can launch it from 120,000 feet up versus taking off from the ground. So if you take a balloon to the edge of the atmosphere, you have so much less to overcome.
Well, you're thinking big, kiddo. I got to give you that much.
That's why I think they call me a little bit crazy.
Not just a little bit.
I told them what we were going to do with the show. They were like, "You're nuts."
I don't think it's nuts at all. I think it's perfectly doable. That's.
I think so too.
I think it's amazing. Using the microwave technology, that makes perfect sense, because I envisioned some great big ass fiber cable going down the roadway to the laying out in the middle of the road with like 2x4s laying over the top of it or something.
Whatever it takes, I'll tell you.
I hope that doesn't come loose.
We're going to do. And it was kind of funny that when we're having this discussion about being crazy or not being crazy, Newsbeat Social founder, great gentleman, very, very intelligent guy. And I had the pleasure of visiting with him here a few months back. And Stacy posts on Facebook and shares our link about what we're doing. And Mr. Fields pops up and says, wow, this is going to be huge. And it absolutely is. We have pushed the threshold of reality TV so much so that, for those that are listening, if you go to the website, and a short version of getting there is hauntedmindtv.com, it'll redirect you. There's a series of membership options, and right now the one that anybody would want to be interested in is the early bird special. And the reason for that is you get 13 months for the same price of 11 months of the advanced package. And then by doing so, we're accepting resumes and an essay as to why you would want to come work at the Crescent Mine. And we are going to review those resumes and essays and select one of those members to come up to the mine and work with us for 5 days. And in that 5 days, they're going to earn up to $10,000. That's a heck of a paycheck for coming up for 5 days.
That's pretty good. And the levels of membership they have, you have them starting at $379 a month, all the way up to the early bird special, which is $52.96. It's called $53 a year.
And it's actually $52.69. I got to get a hold of my web guy and have them swap those numbers. But when they go through that process, it is correct on the payment end.
Okay.
That part of it's a typo, and that's, I think, the only typo that I've found so far. We are, and the reason why we're doing it 13 months for the price of 11 and not 12 is because this first month that we're in right now is all of our beta testing, and we need your feedback. We already have extremely powerful servers, and the more we can load it up and the more the fans help us test it, that's why we're willing to give that opportunity to come up and work and earn $10,000 in a week, is we want to load those servers up to make sure we're not going to have an issue come June.
Now, are your servers on site or are they off site?
They are off site. We're in a data center in Central Texas. Mm-hmm. We're running 8 quad-core processors, ridiculous RAM, 10 rated drives. I mean, we're plugged into a gig data stream, and then we've got, as far as the video hosting side, that's the main site. The video hosting, we're using another company, Ustream. A lot of people have heard it, and we just committed to a massive contract with them that is almost breathtaking in its own. And because we have the ability to add on channels, each camera is its own channel. We have unlimited viewer hours. We can abuse their data systems without it costing us, $500,000 to set up our own.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the things that you're doing that you have to keep in mind, folks, when you have a show like this is how you get the video stream to the audience. And you have to be very careful because there's a lot of solutions out there, and not all of them are good. There's Ustream is one of the more famous ones that a lot of people have heard about. I use the one that I use is called Dawcast. It's essentially a self-service type of a thing where that's what I'm using for my show. Mm-hmm. And they're like Ustream. They're extremely robust, but they don't have the GWiz interface on their website. You're basically doing it all yourself. But it's and there are options out there, but you got to be real careful because you can overpay like crazy for this type of stuff. I'm sure when you were investigating the different options, I'm sure you found that for yourself. There's you can really, really overpay and not get what you're paying for.
You can. I'm not going to say any names, but I ran into one that they wouldn't give me the sub channels. I had to have an account for each camera, and
Yeah.
that's $1,000 a year for each camera. And I plan on having at some point 24 plus cameras. So that's $24,000. Actually, no, it was $1,000 a month per camera. So we're looking at just $12,000 a year per camera. And they weren't willing to really get down to the nitty gritty. And when I talked to Ustream, they're like, "Oh, you only need one account. You can put up to 50 cameras, 50 channels underneath your account. It's unlimited viewer hours, unlimited data. You have full control. You have the chat. You can have a moderator on there and kind of monitor so that there's no foul language. So we'll be able to chat live with everybody, and we plan on it. And, it's all about the interaction and inviting the fans to come to the mine. We're not shutting it down. And we want that to be the most amazing experience that anybody could ever have.
GhostMineTV.com, is that correct?
Haunted Mine TV.
HauntedMineTV.com. Oh boy, there goes your traffic.
Yep.
I've really done it now. Let me ask you, I was interested in finding out where you came up with the name TeslaWolfMedia.com from.
So I love our history here in the U.S. and Nikola Tesla was an innovator way ahead of his time. Some even claimed that he was in direct contact with aliens. Nobody really knows where some of his ideas came from, but he was a very brilliant man and way ahead of his time. And wolf being one of the alpha species out there, and the alpha wolf is kind of where that came from. And my wife woke up one morning and she goes, "I got it." She goes, "It's Tesla Wolf." And I go, "What?" She goes, "The network is Tesla Wolf." And I was like, "That's amazing. That's cool." So we called it Tesla Wolf Media, and we've got our logo up there, and we've got some really cool things that are being designed for introductions. But we think that Tesla Wolf Media is actually going to break the threshold and push things into a whole nother dimension.
That's amazing. Let me ask you, how many subscribers do you need to begin breaking even? Is that an okay question to ask, or are you not comfortable answering that?
Here to begin breaking even,
in shop talk, folks. Sorry, that's one of the things that I always think of.
Even, we're going to probably have to hit 50,000 subscribers.
That sounds doable.
I think it's doable, but here's the great thing about that: is $1 from every subscriber goes into a pool for our charities: Wounded Warriors, ASPCA, St. Jude's, Camp You Can Do, and there's another one that is going to be it's for our soldiers when they come home. They don't always get the psychological or mental care that they need. And a friend of mine that I had the honor, I'm going to call him a friend because he was so genuine. When I met this individual, and I'm not going to be a name dropper, so I'm not going to say his name, but he had a very personal reason for wanting to do this. And I had the honor of meeting this individual when I was in Tennessee. And he was so compassionate about it. I'm like going, okay, if we can hit our mark and we come close to hitting that mark, we're going to add that charity into it. But our goal is to be able to build at least one of those facilities within a year. And one of those facilities costs $10 million. And any veteran will be able to walk through the door and get the help that they need without question, free of charge. So we want to help him be able to build those facilities. And when he gets the opportunity to announce that publicly, then that's where it'll come from, and everybody will know who it is when it happens.
Well, that's.
But he is a big star.
I see the wolves have broken into your studio.
No, my wife's got my office door open, and I think my daughter's unlocking the door.
Oh, okay. Do you have a few more minutes for a few more questions?
I've got as long as you need right now.
Oh, okay, excellent. I don't want to push your schedule because I know you guys are busy up there with the beginning of the season and everything. We talked about this the other day when we chatted. How is the community up there responding to your efforts and really building this up?
Well, Baker County Press released a front page article, and then when you open it up to, I think it was page 8, there's a whole center spread when they saw the images hit Facebook, all the stores are being contacted immediately. When the paper is going to get in? When are the papers going to get in? The phone was blowing up at the Sumter store. When's the papers going to get in? We got to find out what's going on. And the papers didn't hit the stands for another 3 hours. But everybody wanted them. And it was on the radio over there. So I think the local community is all in for it. I think they were a little bit bummed that the show was canceled, the previous show. And they were kind of wondering what was going to happen with their tourism. When I went through Sumter in 2009, I fell in love with the area and wanted to make sure that whatever I did out there, I did something that was going to help the local economy. It was never about what I might stick in my own pocket because, I live in a modest 1,500 square foot home. My truck is 17 years old. I don't care to have a big fancy home. I would rather help other people.
And, ladies and gentlemen, that is exactly why I like this guy so much, because he's in it to help other people. He's not in it to build a giant mansion or get rich in his gold or anything, and he's giving part of the proceeds to charity and everything. And honestly, that's one of my primary reasons for teaming up with Andy Peacher in the UK, is because he also is doing a lot of charity work. He is, in fact, in July, he is doing one of the largest protests in the UK in recent years. I have,
wow.
In the UK, there is a problem that I don't know if I can phrase it correctly or not, but a lot of children get taken away from their families, apparently for profit. And there are victims all over the place. The figures that I have are 270,000 children are taken in the UK every year, and 270 of them are returned. And he is doing a protest. It's called the M25 Motorway Blockade, and he's actually got permission from the government, and he actually has a police escort for his protest. And in the past couple of weeks, Anonymous and Fathers for Justice have gotten involved. So there's going to be hundreds and hundreds of vehicles, Larry.
Right on.
In July. And he is going to be doing a remote broadcast right from the protest. I am going to loan him my video servers and everything so that he can do a broadcast.
If we can help out, and I got extra video channels, if we can help out and give him some usage, let me know.
That would be fantastic. I'll relay that to Andy. It's it's a very sad thing, and anything that I can do to help him, because we're a worldwide network. We broadcast around the world, and Andy's in the UK. We have friends in Mexico, Brazil, Japan, all over the place, and it's quite a thing. In fact, from what I understand, they also have a battle tank that's going to lead the procession around the M25, which is
wow. That's awesome.
That's going to be a heck of a day for people trying to get into London.
It will be. And speaking of around the world, our early bird special is open to anybody around the world. Anybody outside the country must pass Homeland Security background check. Whoever wins this or earns this opportunity to come up and work at the mine, we're covering your airfare. We're going to let you earn this money, and you're going to stay with us. The only thing that I will not cover is a visa, because I don't want to get involved in that paperwork. So if somebody internationally earns this opportunity, if they're selected to come up and work with us for a week, you're responsible for your visa, but we cover everything else.
That's amazing. So they have to get the early bird special, which is, how much is that per year again?
It's $52.69.
$52.69 a year, and you get HD camera feeds, the social interaction, and everything that goes with that. That's not a bad price. That is a pretty darn good price, folks. You should, if you're looking for some alternative entertainment or doing any paranormal investigation, that would be quite a thing to get in on the ground floor.
Yeah, and Bill, we have a few investigations. I have a couple of investigative teams that have contacted me, and they plan on doing a few, and we'll announce those on Facebook. Well, because we're going to hook up our systems and go ahead and let the fans participate in those investigations that those teams are doing. So we'll be doing some of that as part of our beta test before we move all this equipment up to the mine.
And we were talking the other day, as a matter of fact, about the amount of snow that you have up there. It is
Deep.
It is deep. Ladies and gentlemen, there is also a situation here in Michigan where we have no spring. We don't anticipate having a spring, and I would say our summer is going to be much the same. I have looked at the National Weather Service long-range forecast for the Midwest, and the median temperature is going to be 63 degrees till the end of July. So it's not going to be good. It's caused by the Pacific Decadal Oscillation, which lasts for decades, up to 100 years. So this is a long-term situation that we are looking at with cold weather. And how much snow is up there at the mine right now?
We're looking at an excess of 12 feet, I think. We couldn't see our buildings, and the buildings, the ridge lines are pushing 12 feet, and they were completely covered.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so that's a guesstimate from the air. We were at 11.5. We dropped down to about 95, so we were only a few hundred feet up, and everything's looking pretty deep. Even the pond, which has never been covered before, is covered.
Yeah, that's Lake Superior this year was completely covered by ice. I believe it's the first time or second time in recorded history.
Wow.
In fact, you're familiar with Mackinac Island?
Yes, I am, in fact.
Yes, Mackinac Island. There is a ferry service. If you take your hand and look at the palm of your right hand, that's the shape of Michigan. Where your middle finger is where Mackinac City is. And there's a town there called St. Ignace. It's where the Mackinac Bridge goes across the Upper Peninsula. If you go a little bit up to the right of that, that's where Mackinac Island is. There is a ferry service called Shiplers, I believe. They have jet boats. They fly across Lake Michigan. They do about 70 miles an hour. They're amazing things. This is the first year they're not running them. Normally they are running people out to Mackinac Island already, but there is still 3 feet of ice on Lake Michigan. They are using their freight ship, which is capable of cutting through 3 feet of ice, to cut paths out to Mackinac Island to take ferry passengers out there. They're not using their jet boats yet. It is a serious situation. The shipping in the Great Lakes isn't even moving yet because of the ice, and it's quite a thing. Are you going to be broadcasting your snow removal attempts live?
Yes, we are. So as soon as we head that way, we are going to be doing that.
That is.
So even the snow removal, we are planning on using a D8 dozer and a Hitachi 120. We're going to use not a great big excavator, but one that we can get transported down the road without having any permits or anything.
So those of you that watch Gold Rush, you know exactly what a D8 dozer is. And hopefully your tracks don't fall off.
No. This is a nice, much newer machine. And that's going to be done, the equipment and everything that we use is pretty, not quite courtesy of, but pretty darn close. Clark Construction out there, the owner, the Clark family, was extremely supportive of the show coming into town. When we were going through kind of all the initial bumps and bruises of, trying to figure out who, what, when, where, and why, they helped house like 20 people. And so it was like, they've been an integral part of any success that we have out there.
So that's Clark Construction or Clark Excavating. That's a free plug for them. That's outstanding that you have good community support up there. Now, one question that I have for you, Larry, is sure. You're up there in the mountains. You own the gold mine.
Yep.
Obviously, there's a road going up there.
Yep.
Have you had any contact with our friends from either forestry or the BLM at all?
No BLM, but I have run into the forestry, and they were kind of upset that we cleaned the road up and made it as nice as we did. But at the end of the day, it's not a Forest Service road. It is a county road that goes all the way to the mine.
Excellent.
And I hold a contract that was actually the county gave the mine owner, the rights to maintain that road in any way deemed necessary to support the operation.
Well, that's good.
So the county, when I went back into them, they didn't have a copy of that, so I had to give them one. But the guys at the county road over there at Baker County Road, they're amazing. They support everything, and they came up and said, "Look, here's the right of way. If you need to widen it, just don't go outside the easement, and you can go 25 feet to either side of the center of the road."
Well, that's a good thing. It's it sounds like you've got your ducks in a row with as far as that goes.
Yeah,
and of course you're meeting all the mining regulations and everything else, like you said before.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll be, as soon as we kind of get back up there and find out, what damage was done because the snow load was so extreme. We'll get our living quarters squared away, and once we start going into opening the mining season, prior to that, we will actually be inviting up an MSHA inspector to give us a preliminary inspection. Excuse me. So that way we don't run into any regulatory issues. We'll go through, they give us a courtesy visit at the beginning of the year, and they'll write us up a list of things that we need to take care of. And as long as we're taking care of that list, they're pretty much okay. But we have to be actively working towards taking care of that list should somebody arrive and just do a random inspection.
Right. That's I have the utmost respect for you for getting your ducks in a row like that. Most people wouldn't do that, because we see that all the time, and it's a good thing that you've got a good head on your shoulders, and I think people can be very comfortable in subscribing to your service, because I think you're gonna be doing a heck of a thing here.
Well, when you look at it, at the end of the day, I have a personal friendship with each and every single person that's coming up there. And each and every person, I love them all as family. So why would I want to put my family in danger? We're going to take every single precautionary measure that we can to ensure that, number one, nobody's going to get the shock of their life at home, and nobody's going to get killed. And number two is, I want everybody to go home to their families.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. We can have all of the TV shows and everything we want, but safety is paramount. You don't want to see anybody get hurt at all.
Absolutely. We are planning on growing our own food up there this year. We're going to make that attempt. My wife wants to do an in-ground greenhouse, so that should be rather interesting to try.
I've heard of that. I've seen them. That's quite a thing to be able to do, using an in-hung greenhouse. What's the summertime temperatures like up there on the mountain?
Summertime temperatures, they fluctuate dramatically, but during the daytime it will be 90, but it will feel like it's 105, because the atmosphere is so much thinner than it is down at the bottom. 8,600 feet, the atmosphere starts to get pretty thin.
Yeah, where our place in northern Michigan is at a higher altitude than it is here, by about 1,000 feet, and you can really tell the difference when you're in the sun. Mm-hmm. You can be down. It's literally 250 miles away. It's right at the 45th parallel, exactly halfway between the equator and the North Pole, and you would think that the temperature would be more temperate up there, but it's not. When it's 90 down here and 90 up there, that feels a lot worse up there.
Yeah.
For some reason. I don't know why that is, but that always seems to be the case.
Yeah, it has to do with your atmosphere, I'm sure, same as us.
Yeah, because we're right up on the Antrim Shale deposit, and we're up on a ridge line up there. So it can be very, very interesting sometimes in the storms. So when exactly are you going to start moving the snow?
We are anticipating that first week of June. We have a couple of things to take care of, like June 3rd, 4th, and 5th here, and I think we're part of an event that's here. And any events that we attend, we're going to stream. We have some team building exercises planned throughout this season, and these team building exercises, everything will be streamed. I mean, the cameras are going to be with these guys basically 24/7, and for the next 32 months is the plan, and maybe longer. It just depends on how things work out.
Wow! So you're planning on mining in the winter up there next year? Is that it?
We're going to make a very strong, solid effort in doing that. Yeah.
Wow! I got to see that.
Yeah.
I got to see that. Having lived in the snow belt, I got to see that.
Yeah. And one of the kids that his family they stay down in the little ghost town of Bourne. He sent me a message. He goes, "How are you going to mine in the wintertime? We go snowmobiling in Bourne." And the answer to that is snowcats. We do have permission as long as we leave a snowmobile trail next to the road to push through and plow it down to the hard pack.
Oh.
But we don't want to take away from the winter entertainment, so we'll be looking for a snowcat and to transport people up and down in the event of an emergency or some other reason. Snowmobiler comes up and gets stranded, we can help him get down, because that does happen.
That sounds like you guys are really building a strong community up there.
Yeah, we want people to come up and be part of the community and be part of the family that's going to be there. If you want to come up, when we do our tours, the cameras are rolling. You will be seen. So there's your chance at fame for coming up and doing a tour.
That's amazing. The website again is
hauntedmindtv.com.
hauntedmindtv.com.
Yeah, brought to you by Tesla Wolf Media.
Right. Okay. That's I love the name of that. I love that name. I wish I would have thought of that myself. Darn it.
I have an amazing wife, I do have to say. And, my daughter, she's like, Dad, she goes, I just hope someday I'm lucky enough to have the mine.
Yeah, that's...
She's like, that's like the only thing that's ever been solidified that she knows is the constant, that it's just kind of one of those things where she feels like she's at home up there.
I understand from the website she's a senior in high school this year?
She will be a senior starting this next school year. She'll start her senior year at 16 years old and graduate at 17. But yeah. And
college plans? Any kind of college?
She does. She's not 100% sure where that direction is going to go yet. She's anxiously awaiting me putting the money back into her college account.
I'll bet.
Because that's not just some made-up story. That's absolute fact. When I bought that place, I cashed out my 401ks. I had the option to take a one lump payment from a pension plan that I had from another company, and then a couple of friends of mine put some money in, and we got tight at the end of that second summer, 2011, and that was when I pulled that out of her account.
That's got to be gut-wrenching, doing something like that.
When you believe in something and you believe and your gut feeling is just so absolute, you just run with it. And sometimes you just have to take that chance.
Oh, my hat is off to you, sir. That is, this is an incredible effort that you're putting forth to do this. I don't think anybody's ever done a 24/7 reality show uncensored and live like that anybody can tune into at any time. Yeah. What was the name of that movie? Oh, shit.
Ed TV.
No, it wasn't Ed TV. It was a movie, and I can't remember the name of it because I'm on the air. As soon as I go off the air, I'll remember.
Was it the one with Jim Carrey?
Yes.
Matthew McConaughey.
Yes.
That was the Truman Show. Was with Jim Carrey. Matthew McConaughey, when they did Ed TV, he was the one where the cameras were following him around 24/7, but he knew that they were following him around. So that was reality based. They were following his life. The Truman Show with Jim Carrey, he was born into that set, so he didn't realize that it wasn't real. So it's more following along the lines of Ed TV than it is the Truman Show, because he was actually born into that set and did not realize that he was living on a TV set until he finally figured it out towards the end there.
Yeah, and you guys do know that you're on a TV set, so it's essentially a real life Ed TV.
It pretty much is, and we have a few more movie ideas up our sleeves. Things that have been done in movies would have never been done in reality, and we plan on doing it.
Yeah, I have got to see this. I might have to cancel my Netflix account for this.
We're cheaper than Netflix.
Yeah, I know you are. I've got to see this.
But there's not quite the option there. But you're not watching hundreds of movies, but
But still, I mean, this is real life. I mean, judging by the success of Gold Rush, I mean, people really get into this gold mining thing. They want to see people succeed at things like that.
And they absolutely do. And the reason for the success of Gold Rush is nobody had done that yet.
Yeah,
people are thinking gold mining. God, people don't do that anymore. That was 100 years ago. Well, how do you think you get the gold in your cell phones, the gold in your laptops?
Yeah.
That has to come from somewhere. You can't ask all these old ladies to cash in their wedding rings so you can have a new cell phone. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. It just does not work that way. And so the minerals and everything that we have, our technology, everything that we have has to come out of the ground.
Yeah, people don't realize that. They're so quick to try to shut all that down, and they don't realize that they're not going to have their cell phones to call each other to complain about it if they do succeed in shutting everything down.
Mm-hmm. And we go through inspections with DEQ. We have never ever been in non-compliance with the DEQ, which is our Department of Environmental Quality. Mm-hmm. They think that what we're doing is amazing because at the same time that we're up there, we're removing some of the materials that were left there 100 years ago.
Yeah, the toxic waste.
And well, thankfully we didn't have a situation like that. There were some mines at the bottom that 100 years ago they did use cyanide leaching and use lead or not lead but mercury for recovery. And so, but we don't use any we don't use any of that.
Yeah. So do you think there's a lot of gold left in there?
Sarah, after speaking with Sarah one day, mm-hmm. she said that she started drawing this picture. And I've always believed that there's one location where there's still this massive deposit, and we're going to attempt, and I will show, and it's actually, she drew the exact picture, and there's no maps that she could have referenced, because the maps that we're seeing were artist renditions, because I told them I would not give them copies of the maps to be released. Mm-hmm. The fans will get to see the true layout of the Crescent Mine. They will get to understand the whole layout of the entire property this year.
That's going to be something. I have to see this. This is going to be an amazing thing. Listen, we're at the end of the show. I usually don't go this long these days. I usually only go about an hour, but this has been very interesting. I am. Like I said, my hat's off to you. I understand the technology behind this and the effort you're going through. Even if a lot of the audience doesn't, this is not for the faint of heart. That's for sure.
No, it's not.
It's like I'm getting nervous just thinking about it. I'm getting nervous just thinking about all of this money you're spending.
My wife would have a tendency to concur with you.
Yeah, I'll bet. Wow, that's pretty something. Listen, his name's Larry Overman, and TeslaWolfMedia.com, or I'm going to get it wrong again unless he says it.
HauntedMindTV.com.
HauntedMindTV.com. This is going to, obviously, this video will be up on the website. This will be up on YouTube, and everybody can listen to the show, watch it and everything, and I'll have show notes and additional images and everything. And Larry, don't hang up until we are off the air.
Okay.
And I will say goodbye to you off the air. And ladies and gentlemen, this has been Surrounded by Idiots. My name is Bill Zam. His name is Larry Overman, and I will see everybody next week. So long.